We're just going to get started. I'm going to make a quick introduction, why you're here this evening, and a bio, and then we'll start the show. So thank you for coming. We're obviously at the Safra Synagogue for Are Women Chasing Their Men Away? Putting the Mystery Back into Love. Behind me you have Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, author of the new bestseller, The Kosher Sutra, and two hot chicks, of course, Jody Lipper and Serena Vincent, authors of How to Love Like a Hot Chick. Very exciting. And then our moderator for the evening is Lisa Bloom. My name is Aviva. I'm here from Birthright Israel Next. We're one of the co-sponsors of this event tonight, so I just came to say hi and thank you for coming. The event's also brought to you by This World, which is the Jewish Values Network. So really quickly, I'll just give some bio information about who you're going to be hearing from tonight, and then we'll get started with a great discussion. So Lisa Bloom, our moderator, is an award-winning journalist, and she is on the national television program Lisa Bloom Open Court, airing Monday through Friday. She covers hot trials. She's also a CBS News legal analyst. She appears frequently on The Early Show, CNN, very extensive television experience, a wonderful moderator for this evening. The two ladies who wrote How to Love Like a Hot Chick, Jody Lipper and Serena Vincent, very impressive careers. Jody is an established author and freelance writer, while at the Hallmark Hall of Fame Productions, she acquired and adapted novels for CBS Network. In 2004, she moved to Simon & Schuster, where she edited best-selling books. She currently writes for the Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism. Her partner in crime, Serena Vincent, is an actress and writer who began her career, I love this, at age 18 when she starred in the Fox Kids series as Maya the Yellow Power Ranger. Serena has been featured on TV shows such as CSI, 2.5 Men, and Gary Unmarried. She's also co-written several TV pilots and screenplays. Lastly, but certainly not least, we have Rabbi Shmuley Boteach tonight. The rabbi is host of the award-winning national TV show Shalom in the Home on TLC. He's also the international best-selling author of 20 books. In 2008, Rabbi Shmuley served as Oprah's marriage, parenting, and relationships expert on her Oprah and Friends national radio network. He has a very extensive bio, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. Most recently, though, I know he's very excited that a national television campaign is about to kick off. It's called Turn Friday Night into Family Night, and it's an initiative inspiring families to get together on Friday night. There have been some great notable celebrities who've recently made some PSAs, among them Dr. Phil, D.L. Hughley, Alan Combs, Rachel Hunter, and that's just to name a few. So pretty impressive panel tonight. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome everyone. It's great to see you all here. I'm always very impressed when people come out for live events because you live in New York City and you should take advantage of live events and not just be home on Facebook all night like I probably would be if I wasn't here. So good for you for being here. I'm going to ask a few questions. I know both sides have a lot of dynamic things to say, but I'm going to encourage you all to ask questions as well since we're not on TV, we're all actually in the same room and we can interact in real time by just talking. What a great concept. So the topic for tonight is, are women chasing men away? I notice there's a lot of men here, so hopefully at least some of you disagree with that. And I'd like each side to address that question right off the bat, since that's what brought you here, and I want to have some truth in advertising. Are women chasing men away? And if so, what are we doing wrong? Shmuley, might you start?
Well, actually, I want to make it clear that I am not one of the hot chicks. I'm just a super hot guy. Bearded men have more fun. But I actually want to defer to Serena and Jody. I thought they were going to begin. You guys want me to begin?
No, we can begin. Or whatever, you can begin.
Okay. I'll begin. Everything we've tried in relationships for the past 30 years, this new openness, the near instant availability of women, this belief that more is more, instead of less being more, has failed miserably. Women today are not better off than they were in relationships 30 years ago. They're certainly better off professionally. I'm a feminist, like Lisa's great mother, Gloria Allred. I am someone who, and Lisa herself, of course, I'm someone who believes that women are easily the equal of men in every important department, and they should be presidents and prime ministers and doctors and lawyers, and I have raised I'm raising my 6 daughters to avail themselves of every professional opportunity open to women. But when it comes to relationships, women have gone way back. I'll prove it. Women are miserable in their relationships. 75% of all divorces today are initiated by women. And those 75% are leaving into the wild blue yonder. The chances of them actually remarrying are so slim. You know the famous statistic that a woman 35 and over unmarried in the United States stands a greater likelihood of being in a terror attack than ever getting married. I have a friend who's 39 whose apartment was at ground zero on September 11th, 2001. So she called me up a few weeks later and said, "Shmuel, let me understand this. Now that I've been in a terror attack, does this mean that any day I'm going to meet my soulmate?" But these women are leaving their husbands, often remaining alone, for the rest of their lives, just not to be with this guy who doesn't compliment them, who makes selfish love to them, if you could even call it that. I mean, the national average of 7 minutes. Slam, bam, my God, is that all there is, man? That can hardly be construed as making love. They would rather be alone than a man who doesn't appreciate them. As I've said before, studies show that married women on average are 24% heavier than single women. Who just got married? Both of you, right? You guys gained a lot of weight since you got married?
Where?
Hotchicks don't gain weight. And you know why married women are heavier than single women? Because the single woman comes home and she checks what's in the bed, in the fridge, and she goes to bed. The married woman comes home and she checks what's in the bed, and then she goes to the fridge. And then you have all the other statistics that women now have become so cynical in their relationships that 90% of women will not date or marry a man who earns less money than them. And all the men will always complain that the first question a woman will ask in a relationship is, what does he do? So the cynicism that has entered into relationships, I ask myself, how did this happen? How is it that women became so cynical about relationships? How is it that a man became a breadwinner to them? What happened to love? And why are women getting so turned off by their own husbands? And the answer is simple. The greatest prize for men in the history of the world has always been a woman. And so long as men had to exert some sort of effort, so long as they had to endeavor to be worthy of a woman, as long as they had to change their habits to become gentlemen in order to earn a lady, you had refined men who learned to be romantic, who learned to be selfless, who learned to be egoless and allow their woman to be at the center of their universe so that she could feel like the sun in whose light he basked. But with the sexual revolution, which was not a male revolution, men had nothing to do with the sexual revolution. Men always wanted commitment-free sex. They just had no one to have it with. The sexual revolution was women coming along and saying, hey, we could do this too. We also have no strings attached sex. We also can make love and feel nothing. We believe that's progress. We believe that's a form of emotional maturity. The net result was men could now have girlfriends even if they behaved like complete pigs. They could two-time, they could cheat, they could be married and flirt outrageously with other women, they could become porn addicts, and the women put up with it. It is astonishing what women put up with today. It's incredible to me that the heavy lifting in relationships today, and this is why relationships are broken, this is the principal reason. The heavy lifting is not done by men, it's done by women. The women are the one who put an hour into their appearance before they got on a date. We were just talking about that downstairs. The women have, she sits there going like this, going like that. He goes, I'm ready. It's the women who have to be all demure and exciting and interesting, and he can just offer something from his innermost self, a belch, and that's enough. Men can behave in the most brutish manner, and they still get girlfriends. So the natural order of things, which is that men used to pursue women, thrill the chase, now that it's the women who appear a lot more desperate, and you can always tell a woman who thinks that she's a little bit desperate, she's the one who everything about her says, I'm an attention seeker. I'm doing everything I can to get your attention. So now it's all changed. It's the women making the effort to be noticed by the men who get their pick of the litter. Look at how it's worked in terms of dating through the 20th century. Prior to the invention of the automobile, the way people dated was men courted women. Now, the expression courting is a spatial expression. They created court. They created this home, this space. And the way it worked was the guy would get all dressed up. He would get dressed up. He'd spend an hour choosing his cravat and his long coat, and he would put on the most impeccable manners, and he would go and present a card. She would determine whether she would receive him or not. And he would be the one fretting, am I going to be acceptable, good enough? But with the invention of the car, and this has been charted by American social anthropologists, everything changed. Men started asking women out. So there was a change in the power structure of dating. It was now the men who were asking the women out. It was now the women who had to stand out so that they would be asked. And from there, of course, it just deteriorated more and more as the shift of power came more and more into a man's lap. With sex becoming so readily available, and with women displaying their most intimate selves without any work on the part of the man, we reached a point where the men had to make almost no effort whatsoever. And now we live in a porn universe where women for a couple of bucks will take off all their clothing, and the wives are competing against this stuff. And if you're a married woman, and you're one of these married women that I counsel, where you're naked in bed every night next to a husband who seems disinterested in you, I wrote the Kosher Sutra because I was astonished when we did Shalom of the Home, traveled around the country, working with families who are broken. I was amazed at how many men weren't making love to their wives. We never went into the families for that reason. One show was about anorexia, another show was about blended families, another one was about infidelity, another one was about children not accepting a stepfather, etc., etc. And yet, more than 50% of the families we met, the husbands wouldn't touch their wives at night. They had lost interest. And that feeling that you're not even desirable, that you're not even worthy enough for your husband to put his hands on you at night is so soul-destroying. My producer for my Oprah Friends radio show is here tonight. Hello, Megan.
Hello, Charlie.
Megan is like a sister to me. We're very good friends. I mean, how many times do we hear on the air the anguish of these women who call up, whose husbands won't make love, and you think it's the opposite. We all think, man, they're sex crazed. It's not true.
It was constant. No matter what we were talking about, it would always go to that almost every day.
Thank you for being my wingman.
So what's the answer?
The answer is, there is only one way to fix this. There is no other way, unfortunately. Other things have been tried and they have failed. The only thing that can be done is for all of you to buy my book. Now, a final comment. That's true, by the way. It's a brutal, it's a harsh truth, but it's true. What Jody and what Serena are advocating, at least as I understand it, based on our Today Show appearances together, that women should be confident in their sexuality, and of course we want women who are confident in their sexuality. When you're confident, you're not a name dropper. To say, I'm so confident who I am. Barack Obama invited me to the White House last week. I'm so confident who I am. You see my Rolex watch? That betrays insecurity. When a woman has to dress in a very provocative fashion, highlighting her body, what she's really saying is, there's nothing up here. Or there may not be anything here. That's why I'm not even highlighting that. It subverts the entire feminist message. The feminist message was that a woman is the equal of a man. Do you remember the Beatles having to run around in thongs in order to sell an album? So why does Britney have to do that? Did Aretha Franklin have to do that? Or was it two talents alone? Everything about women today doesn't say confidence, it says insecurity. It says we can manipulate you with body parts until the men get bored of those body parts, or until it becomes about size alone. Because once you reduce something to parts and you take away the personality, bigger is better, and everything is just reduced to size. So women are suddenly look what a woman will do if I'm wrong, that everything we've done over the past 30 years has failed. and that women are not confident, they're more insecure than ever. If I'm wrong, then you tell me this, and I'll end with this, Madam Moderator, my very good friend Lisa Bloom, who is both beautiful and brilliant, and more importantly, she's my buddy, because we stack the odds in my favor against the hot chicks. If I'm wrong, then tell me this. A typical sign of self-loathing in a society is when an ethnic group will do almost anything to erase their ethnic features. I'll give you an example. Jews were hated for 2,000 years, so they changed their names. They're not Goldstein, it's Gold. Who did I see in this week's Newsweek, the #1 marketing guru in America? The guy that just designed that failed Tropicana thing. They had a big thing about him. His name was like, his original name was like Aronson Rosenzweig. And now it's, I think, Mr. Stud or something like that. So Jews changed their names, and a lot of Jews wanted to get rid of their Jewish noses, and they do anything not to look Jewish because they felt they were part of a hated group. Same thing happened in the African American community. Spike Lee demonstrates very convincingly in his movie X. Malcolm X, he originally tried to get rid of his afro. That was a big trend in the 1950s among blacks. My wife and I were in one of the poorest regions on earth, sub-Saharan Africa, in Dakar, Senegal, and we saw billboards. People don't have anything to eat. We saw billboards for skin bleach wherever we went. If it's true that the measure of how much a group hates itself is what it will do to its body in order to blight a perceived ugliness, then there is no group on earth that hates itself more than women. It is only women who will shove needles into their foreheads to ensure they can't lift their eyebrows and express surprise, truly blighting their personality in favor of a wrinkleless face, so that when they win, you won the lottery! I'm thrilled! It is only women who will put foreign objects into their bodies. How many men would agree to put silicone in their body that might explode and kill them? Now we have salines, at least that doesn't kill you. But to live with something literally foreign, just to have bigger breasts. For who? For other women? For yourself? How many men would agree to have boiling hot wax poured all over your body and this ripped and that's ripped? If it's a measure, if self-loathing is measured by how much we will punish our bodies, I'm amazed that we haven't yet invented like the Spanish rack for women who want longer legs. Like stretch them. Just like twist it a little bit. This approach that Serena and Jody are advocating, which is a perceived confidence, but it's not real, it's all about insecurity. It's all about saying, I don't have enough
Let's
hair.
let them talk for themselves.
Okay.
And just before I finish, because I don't want to dominate the evening, I just want to speak for about a half an hour about my early childhood. I'm sorry, I'm done.
Okay, so that was very much fun. By the way, new statistic today that many of you may have heard, which I found shocking, that 25% of young women 18 to 39, would rather win America's Next Top Model than the Nobel Peace Prize.
Wow. That came out today?
That came out today, yeah, a big study. I think that tells us a lot. 23% said they would rather lose their ability to read than their figure. All right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I think we do have
Case closed,
very
I'm
unhealthy, very unhealthy preoccupation with race in our society. The question is, does that reflect self-loathing, or is that how women get power in our culture? Anyway, on that note, I'm going to let Jody and Serena respond. Hit it.
Thank you. Before we even get to what we were planning to talk about, I just want to respond to that last point that Julie made, because I forgot everything that came before it. But the point about a sign of self-loathing being to get rid of that feature that distinguishes you as a group, you know, for women to do plastic surgery for that reason is completely defeats your point. If women hate themselves as women and hate their womanliness so much, why would they emphasize their feminine characteristics by having breast implants? Why would they emphasize their feminine characteristics by wearing fake eyelashes? They're actually, and we certainly aren't advocating any sort of plastic surgery whatsoever, but to say that that shows that women hate themselves because they're trying to amplify their femininity or amplify those features that distinguish them as a woman is ridiculous. Bleaching your skin as an African American and amplifying your feminine breasts are completely opposite. Completely opposite. So to equate those, it's just, I think, completely
So are women chasing men away?
Well, no, they're not. But we have a lot to say here. But in going off of what Jody was just saying, we're not advocating plastic surgery or women changing the way they look or the way, their outside appearance to get a man. It's actually the exact opposite. And we wrote our first book, How to Eat Like a Hot Chick, and this one, How to Love Like a Hot Chick. We wanted to redefine that term, and we want to make women laugh about the things that used to make them feel insecure. Their bodies, what they put into their bodies, their relationship status, their relationships, all those things. And Shmuley is wrong in our message. We define a hot chick as not about what you look like, but I'm going to read it to you. We define it on the first page of our book, and just so we set the record straight. We're talking about an inner beauty and an inner confidence that when you possess it, you can get anything you want, and especially in a relationship. So our definition of hot chick is a confident woman. She knows what she wants and gets it. She is aware of her flaws, but she doesn't obsess over them, and instead thinks that maybe, just maybe, they actually add to her unique beauty. She is passionate. She loves life. She is comfortable in her own skin and owns her sexuality, but uses it purely for good. She does not see other women as her enemy and competes only with herself to do her best at all times and to be her best at all times. She is forthright, honest, and disarmingly herself. She has fun, and she is sexy, and you just want to be around her to soak up some of those good vibes. She isn't perfect, but she doesn't care because she is hot, and so are you. So,
What does it mean to own your sexuality and use it purely for good?
very good question. Basically, there's too many women running around out there that are insecure about their bodies, and they are insecure in the bedroom. And we believe that when you walk around in your relationship or out there dating, trying to find a relationship with that insecurity written all over your face, that's what Shmuley is talking about, that desperation thing. And that will push men away. But once you really embrace it and know that you're a hot chick, according to our definition, nothing to do with Paris Hilton, once you embrace that and really believe that you deserve to feel beautiful, that you are beautiful, and that you deserve a fulfilling, passionate relationship, that is going to translate into all aspects of your life.
And using it for good means not doing what Shmuley's talking about and reeking of that desperation, and not using your sexuality to get attention, not sleeping with a man to get attention or because you think it will make him like you more, or giving him sex, as Shmuley said on the Today Show, in order to get something from him. It's not something you barter. Using sex as something that you can sell or trade is not using it for good, it's using it for the wrong purpose. And we think that a woman should embrace her sexuality and own it, meaning that they can enjoy sex, and they're allowed to enjoy sex, and they're allowed to go out there and have sex with someone and enjoy it for what it is, whether that's a meaningful commitment or a meaningful moment, or whether it's just physical enjoyment for that woman. That doesn't mean that she's looking to get something else out of the man or looking for attention from the man by giving him something that he wants. It means that
So what's wrong with that?
Well, they make it sound like you're using sex for world peace. You're gonna do sex.
We're using it for physical pleasure and nothing more.
I think women are much more sexual than men and experience far deeper, more gratifying pleasure than men. But not when they embrace the sexuality of men. Sexuality of men is pathetic. Men are uni-orgasmic. Right after sex, they are basically dead. They're corpses. I mean, basically, you have to have a defibrillator because this guy's heart stopped. And it's one of the most frustrating things for women, just how the sell-by date on male sexuality, and it's pornographic. It objectifies women. It doesn't strike deeper than the outermost layers. Male sexuality is very deeply flawed, and it's the reason why sex in the marriage, as I said, is 7 minutes. That's the national average, and 1 out of 3 couples aren't having sex at all. You think it's the women that are doing the slam bam stuff? It's the women that want quickies? Of course it isn't. It's the men. Now, why is male sexuality so impotent? It's simple. Because it's not fueled by the emotions. It's physiological instead of psychological. It's not rooted in the mind, and it's not rooted in the heart. It's rooted only in the genes. Men always speak about being horny. Now, how much is your body going to propel you to something sexual when it's not deeply erotic? Women, by contrast, they understand that sex is a much more meaningful experience. Number one, their genitalia are on the inside rather than the outside. With men, they treat sex as doing something to someone else. It's so easy to compartmentalize. God almighty, if I had $1 for every husband who in a counseling session said to me, yes, I cheated on my wife, but I never loved her, she meant nothing to me, I'd be Bill Gates. But for a woman, sex is a literal invasion of the body. It's a literal sharing of self. So the idea of compartmentalizing the emotions and saying, I felt nothing, is absurd. It's a sharing of self. So to suddenly say, women can have sex the way men can, that's not moving forward.
But that's not what we're saying.
Just one second. Saying that, you said whether it's part of a meaningful relationship or whether it's not and it's just for pleasure. Look, if it's just for pleasure, you can masturbate if you want. But no one's going to say, and studies actually show that women have far more potent orgasms during masturbation than they do with sex with men, because men, unfortunately, most often don't make an effort to learn the topography of their wives. They're very, very lazy lovers. This is one of the main things that I've confronted in counseling married couples for 20 years. And yet the women don't just want to have a vibrator or some sex toy. They want a man because they want it to be about love. So how can we speak about a meaningful sexual experience that's only about the moment? That is a delusion. It's simply not true. And it's the masculinization of the feminine character, which has been so deeply destructive to women. We need to feminize men, not masculinize women.
Okay, let me let them get a word in. All right, so is that true? Can women have satisfying one-night stands, or is that completely against our nature?
Well, I just want to clarify one thing. I think saying that women should embrace their sexuality does not mean that they should be having sex like a man. There is a difference between embracing your sexuality and exploring it and experiencing different things and just having sex like a man and just having an orgasm being done with it. Those are two separate things, and it may be a fine line, but...
And being confident in your sexuality isn't actually just about sex. It's embracing your femininity. It's not letting, there's so much out there that makes women feel bad about themselves. And every time we turn on the TV, and every tabloid news station, and every tabloid magazine, there are just things that make women feel like they're not good enough, they're not pretty enough, they're not smart enough, and too many women are walking around.
They're not hot enough, right? That's the thing. See, even
they're
using that word,
hot enough.
everything you said before about women, that beautiful paragraph you read from your book about women, that was beautiful. I agree with everything there. That's not a hot chick, that's a lady.
No, that's our definition.
That terminology is so disempowering for women, to reduce women to a chick, and hot is all about temperature. Then it becomes competitive. Are you hotter?
No, because isn't there a point that, if I could just jump in, there's always, when you go to a party, there's always one woman there who's not on paper hot. If you looked at her objectively, this was a little too big, this was a little too small, her hair's not quite right, whatever, but all the men are gathered around her and she's got that inner confidence and she's got...
That's exactly what we're talking about. And we're talking about being that genuine, passionate, the best version of yourself. And to stop walking out the door feeling insecure and feeling not good enough. And, our book is a girlfriend-to-girlfriend book. We talk like girlfriends talk with each other. So, yes, being a hot chick is also being a lady, absolutely. But it's supposed to make women feel good and laugh and feel confident and feminine and girly and hot.
So here's the problem I always have with both of these kinds of books is women is such a broad group, and I don't like really anything that says all women should do something a certain way. And isn't there enough room? Yes, we all have internal genitalia, but some women like one-night stands. Some women want to be married for 50 years. Some women are in the middle. I mean, isn't there enough room for the breadth of this enormous group?
Absolutely.
Well, first of all, my book is basically the supreme repository of all knowledge about relationships. It's more an encyclopedia than just a book. It's 26 volumes and compressed into one. It therefore is allowed to be general, Lisa. I mean, there's almost something divine about it, if I want to be honest. But let me address your
And by the way, I wrote a
question.
blurb on this book,
Yes, you
which
did.
I meant every word
You
of it.
did.
I found the book unsettlingly knowledgeable about female eroticism.
Can you expand on that? Because, yeah. Okay, so you're asking a very good question. And it is absolutely true that many studies, countless studies have been done that actually prove that there is an overall female sexuality. Here, I'll give you an example. Sheer Height, who was a very ardent feminist and would never conform to orthodoxies about women, she's the one that found the statistic that only 6% of women who are in happy marriages cheat on their husbands.
6?
Only 6%. So 94% of women who are happy in their marriages will not cheat on their husbands. That's an astonishing thing that has been replicated, which shows that female sexuality is not about variety, and it's not about novelty. It's about deep emotional satisfaction, and if women have lived with their husbands, they don't cheat. Conversely, unfortunately, she found in the Height report on male sexuality that 87% of men who cheat on their wives claim to love their wives. But men do look for that variety, and they get bored in this monotonous, which they translate as monogamous, routine. There's many other things about female sexuality that we can state that are accurate generalizations. And to prove some of them, and to prove my point, that sex outside of a more committed, more emotionally fulfilling relationship is actually bad sex. Here, I'll prove it, because you said some women like one-night stands. But the question is, after they have a one-night stand, how do they feel when the man never calls them again? They may go into it agreeing that it's a one-night stand, but there's like this secret hope that maybe it'll lead to something more, especially if it was a very connecting experience. When I published Kosher Sex, we did a statistical poll for the book that showed that, this is in England, it was a small sampling of a few hundred women, but 86% of women polled said that if they had an incredible night of sex with a man who did not call them within 3 days, they buried the experience as a painful one. They felt abused and used, and even misled. But let me put the question. Can I just put one question to you? Let me put the question to you. If it's true that sex can be momentary and fleeting and deeply fulfilling, and that itself is something pleasurable, so would you have any problem with a single woman having that kind of momentary sexual experience with a married man?
Absolutely.
Now, why?
Because when you get married, you make a vow to not have sex with other
But
persons.
she didn't make the vow. He made the vow.
Yeah.
Right, well, so you would be upsetting because he made the vow and now he's breaking it.
Okay, but
You're also hurting another woman, his
well,
wife.
what if she'll never know? She'll never know, and she'll never be hurt.
So you will be sure of that.
Okay, well, what if we could sort of guarantee that she would never know? Should she do it just for the pleasure?
Who would
Or
never know? A single woman.
if the mother would never know. The mother would. I'm sorry. The wife would never know. I think mothers are very sexy. The wife would never find out, so she wouldn't hurt anyone. And he's betraying his vow. She's doing nothing wrong. Should she? And it's going to be a thrilling night of sex.
Oh, okay.
Should she indulge?
Okay, we get this question a lot, like through emails and people that read our book. Many women of all different ages, 18 to 60, have asked us what they should do, that they're in this relationship with a man who's married or has a boyfriend. And what we tried to say, which is what we were trying to get out earlier, is that is not what you want. No woman should want somebody else's man. That is absolutely a definition of an insecure woman, a woman that is not living like a hot chick.
But she doesn't want his man. She just wants good sex. She's going to let him go forever. All she wants is a night of great sex. She's never going to call him again. She doesn't want him. It's about physical gratification. She's not interested in him. She's not taking the man at all.
Well, to be fair, I mean, it's advocating an occasional one-night stand if it's what a woman wants is only a tiny part of your book.
It's a tiny part of the book that comes with a list of giant rules and specifications, and you may only do this if you are not desperate, if you're not looking for, if you're just doing it for this single experience, once in a lifetime thing, and you're doing it in a healthy way.
And back to what...
Wait, but now you're betraying yourself. Why only once in a lifetime?
Can I please answer the original question, which was, is there a one-size-fits-all rule for women and sexuality, and the one-night stand thing goes perfectly with that, because when we say, if, you follow all these rules, you may have a one-night stand once in your life while you're single. We say very clearly, and we really believe this, that you have to know yourself, and our whole book, and being a hot chick, by our definition, is about knowing yourself and knowing what you want, and knowing that you deserve it, and having the confidence to go out and get it. And so you have to know yourself, and you have to know, am I the kind of woman who can sleep with a man once and have it be a fulfilling experience, and then be okay if he doesn't call me the next day? Or am I going to attach emotion to that, and is it going to hurt me?
Some of the other things you advocate for single women, like traveling on your own, traveling with girlfriends, getting closer to your family, using your time as a single woman effectively. Why don't you talk about those? Those were pretty good.
Yeah, well, it's, so many women are just sitting around waiting for a man to come into their life before they actually start their life. And we wrote these books because we did that. And we were those girls that were insecure and were putting things off because we were looking for the one, but we were doing all the wrong things. And so we're encouraging women to travel by themselves and live by themselves and spend more time with the family, doing the things that, and then doing bold things as well. Like, when you go bold and you do something that scares you, it makes you more confident, and that reflects in all aspects of your life. But I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because I want to say one thing. Whether you're in a relationship or you're single, there are many women that are unhappy in their relationship situation. And we have a program in our book, which we call Build a Boyfriend, another cute little name, where we walk you through step by step to help you figure out exactly what you want in a relationship. So whether, you're talking one of those statistics of a divorced woman who's leaving her husband, that's fine. Like, you can get divorced and you can go out and start a new life as long as you sit down and really figure out exactly what you want in a relationship and what kind of love is going to be fulfilling and passionate for you, and then know that you deserve and believe that you deserve it and believe that you can actually go out and find it.
And to say that women are any better off now than they were 50 years ago because they're all instigating these divorces now, I think is false. Women didn't have the freedom all those years ago to get divorced and to have a life on their own. They didn't feel like they had the independence to do that. So to say that women are getting divorced now and that shows that everything's broken and that they need to go back to being housewives is, I think really false. I think, they are having the confidence now to take a step back and figure out what they want and then go after it. And I think that's a sign of progress. But I also want to make one more point about what Serena was saying about when you do bold things, it builds your confidence, which is absolutely true, and that's why we advocate living by yourself, traveling by yourself, asking a man out, even though Shmuley disagrees with that, that really can build your confidence, just saying, wow, I did that, and, look what happened. And the same thing goes, and that is the only time and the only reason that we really do advocate having one-night stands. Not that we advocate having them, but we say that it's okay to do it if you're the kind of woman that is insecure in her sexuality and is a little bit held back in the bedroom. We say that if you're the kind of woman that will be okay with it and will be crying in her pillow the next morning because you didn't call, experiencing that with someone that you don't know very well, as long as you're safe and you follow all of our rules and you're safe, it can build your confidence. It can build your sexual confidence. It can, make you go out the door, even if you just have it in the back of your head and say, well, maybe I'll do that. Puts a little sparkle in your eye, and there's nothing wrong with women having that.
I want to know if any of you have questions before the night gets too late and we don't get a chance to get you in. Don't be shy. You're in a synagogue. We're talking about sex. It's a little awkward.
I'm just curious for the ladies, when did you guys meet your husbands? And what do your husbands think of your profession?
Well, I guess I'll start. I'm Serena. I met my husband actually after I did the program in the book, this Build a Boyfriend program. We didn't call it that at the time, though. But I was dating all the wrong guys, and I really sat down to figure out, okay, what kind of relationship do I want? There's all these guys that maybe, come at me, but they're completely wrong, and the ones that are interested in me, or that I'm interested in, aren't interested in me. And so I really sat down to figure out what I wanted, and it took, about 6 months, and then he walked into my life at work. We were working on a movie together, actually. And then we just got married last year.
Congratulations.
And my story is actually very similar, and we went through this together, which is why we book together because we really experienced similar things in this area. I did the Build a Boyfriend program too, which I didn't call it that, but wrote down exactly what I wanted, and I ended up meeting my husband online, and I saw him and saw something. I followed the advice in the book. I saw something that I liked, and I did make the first move and approached him. And that was via internet, and it worked out. So, and I'm not unhappy in my marriage just because I was bold and made the first move and acted desperate, according to Shmuley.
That's who she is. She's a bold young woman who goes after what she wants. Why wouldn't we celebrate it?
First of all, let me just correct something. I never knew that I actually opposed women asking men out. But if you say that that's my opinion, it must be so.
Well, what about the hunter-gatherer theory?
I reject that. I reject that utterly. I think that men have been degraded through this evolutionary view of them as nothing but sperm donors and hunter-gatherers, and I don't believe we were ever hunter-gatherers. I think that this view of men as primitive oafs is not what I'm saying at all. There are aspects of male sexuality that have to be enhanced. I think that's why a man gravitates towards a woman. It brings a certain nurturing energy in his life. It brings a certain softness to him. All studies show that where men are influenced by women, that those societies where women have more power and women have a stronger voice, they're more peaceful societies because male expression is tamed. Notice that Norway and Sweden and these Scandinavian countries are always so involved in peace efforts, and they have the highest rate of female politicians in positions of power. I wrote a whole book about this, called Hating Women. What happens to a society when women are truly disempowered? And what you see is that these societies become extremely aggressive. One example, of course, is in Islamic society today. Islam was always a great world religion, and even though we see today the Islamic world isn't building a lot of universities, etc., Islam was at the forefront of education. Islam was at the forefront of women's rights 1,000 years ago. Islam was one of the first religions to grant women inheritance rights, for example. But in modern Islam, places like Saudi Arabia, women can't ride a bicycle, they can't drive a car, they absolutely have no public voice whatsoever. They can't even show their faces in public, quite literally. And we see how aggressive these societies are and how militant they are. So on the contrary, I think it's not that I have something against men, I just think men are enhanced by exposure to a woman. It's the synthesis of the masculine and the feminine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a woman asking a man out. I think that's a great thing. I've been advocating all along that I would like to see women being more powerful in relationships rather than less powerful. The fact that the men make all the moves and make all the choices is one of the biggest problems that we have today. I'm not talking about asking someone out. I'm talking about using your sexuality to be manipulative in a relationship. I think that is a sign of deep insecurity. And I think when you sit and you tell yourself, I'm going to have this one-night stand and that's going to empower me, and now I had it and I feel better about myself, I don't think that's the case at all. I counsel women like this all the time. I counsel women who have many one-night stands, who are beautiful, gorgeous women that men want to go to bed with. And it's quite remarkable that after these repeated one-night stands, their self-esteem is eroded. They now begin to feel that men don't want them for anything but sex. And they begin to feel that they've been sexualized, that there's nothing deeper that they have to offer. In the final analysis, we've got to change this society from its misogyny. We live in a society where the word hot chick has a certain connotation. And it unfortunately doesn't mean what Jody and Serena said so eloquently. The word hot chick, we all know what it means. It means that a woman has a hot body. That's what we mean by that expression. And hot chicks, the women who have hot bodies, they get more attention. They are preferred over women who have a hot brain or a hot heart. I wish it were true, what my dear friend Lisa said, that at parties it's often the woman who may not be as attractive who gets a lot of the attention. I look on television and I see the preponderance of women who are gorgeous to even read the news these days. And once you hit 45, 50, they take you off television, let alone in Hollywood, where Andie MacDowell famously said when she turned 40 she could never get a leading role. Okay, Sean Connery just had his 1000th birthday, and he's still being paired with 20-year-old women, so men are allowed to be as old as they want. We live in a deeply misogynistic society. What I don't want to see is women becoming complicit in that misogyny. I think Megan and I worked with Oprah for a year. I think what people like Oprah Winfrey are doing and saying it's okay to be a bit overweight. She wants to be thinner, she speaks about that, but she doesn't hate herself for it, and there's something deeply attractive about it, and that women should have a spiritual core. The word hot chick has a certain connotation, and it really does mean the body.
No,
and the two of you may be very nobly trying to expand that definition. But you're expanding it, the expansion, which is very noble. And I actually have a lot of respect for Jody and Serena. I actually don't think that they represent a caricature that they're used for in the media. They're actually women of great substance, great heart. They're very, very smart. But the hot chick thing sells because it's a caricature in the media of how to be this hot woman that everyone wants to be. And that usually entails not developing the more subtle, less noticeable attributes, which really are the foundation of a healthy relationship.
Let me interrupt you there. Let me get your response, and then we have a question over here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if we live in a culture where all women do strive to be this hot chick that we see on the TV that is, you know, a hot body, then if we are living in that culture where women say, I want to be a hot chick, then that is what we're trying to do, is expand on that and say, okay, you want to be a hot chick, then
This is the hot chicks.
you know, if you can work on having a hot body, go for it. But also try to do this. Don't just be an empty shell. Don't just try to, you know, emphasize your body. But I'm confused about Shmuley's point that women should be asking men out, because you started with this whole long thing about how everything has gone downhill because women are now the ones who are working to get the men. So if women aren't supposed to be working to get the men, how should they be the ones who are asking the men out? I'm confused about that.
It's a very good question. You know, every study has shown that the sexiest quality about both men and women actually is what? Anyone know? What's the number one? What do women say is the sexiest quality about a man? Confidence. Sense of humor is number 2. That is absolutely right. Confidence. And in both men and women. So in other words, work is where you feel that I don't have confidence, that I better spend hours putting on makeup, not to enhance my beauty, but to disguise my ugliness. And there's a very big difference between the two. Work means that you try on 10 dresses. Do I look great in this? Do I look great in that? You're doing all the work to put on bells and whistles to augment, what's the word? What's the word? To augment, to enhance, to compensate for an inner deficiency. That's work. The opposite of just feeling good about yourself. And I'm not saying you should look bad. I'm just saying it shouldn't be. I think if we had I think the proportion should be, if women spend an hour getting ready for a date in front of a mirror, it would be great if they spent an hour reading the New York Times that day, or reading a book and having an opinion to share on that date as well, that their mind should be beautiful too. I want to see a generation of men who really appreciate the female mind. It's what I most want for my daughters.
You're here.
So, and that's why I have these conversations with my daughters all the time about opinions and getting them to think, etc., etc. And often my daughter, Roshki, who's sitting right there, my eldest daughter, would say to me, Tata, you're raising us into a world where, do you think men are really going to appreciate this? Because we live in a very shallow world. And I said to her, no, but one will. And that's all you need is one.
The good ones will. The ones who are worth it will.
So when you walk over to a man and simply ask him out, Jody, and you have that confidence, that's very sexy. I think that's great. I'm talking about where women do all the work to be noticed. They do all the work to be in a more passive state, to show their legs more, to show their cleavage more. When brave feminists worked for 60 years to obliterate that, and I'm amazed that they made no progress.
We completely agree with you on that point. We are not telling women, enhance your cleavage and enhance your this, and then just sit back and wait for a guy to notice you and hate yourself while you're at it. I mean, that is the complete opposite of what we're saying. We're saying what you're saying. Really believe that you deserve it. Really believe that it's out there. Really believe that you are worth it. And don't go out and get it.
And don't be afraid to go out and get it. Grab the bull by the horns. You know what if you know what you want in life, then we want women to just go out and get it. You can't sit around and wait for it to happen. It's not going to happen that way. But also, you know, we don't think women should cover up. We don't. I mean, unless they want to. There's a lot of women that play small and feel like that they have to hide their body and not spend an hour in the mirror for fear of, you know, turning somebody off or looking a certain way or pushing their man away. And you know, we want women to celebrate your body and be proud of it. I mean, every woman is gorgeous and beautiful and needs to embrace that without be able to walk around feeling that confidence.
When I followed one of your pieces of advice without knowing it a couple of years ago as a single woman, I went to India by myself for a yoga retreat, and the way that the instructor at the yoga retreat, the yogi, put it was, adorn the goddess within. And we had a dinner one night, and she said, tonight, instead of, because we all wore yoga clothes the whole week, tonight, instead of the yoga clothes, adorn the goddess within. And everyone did their own interpretation of that, and it was a beautiful thing. We have a question over here.
Yeah. So, Shmuley, I remember on the radio show a long time ago, someone called in, they were talking about making a list about the qualities that they want in a man. And a lot of women have secretly done this, whether it was when they were teenagers and they make a list of like everything they want in a boyfriend, and hopefully eventually that comes true. And I remember you advocating against that because you thought that women would say, I want a man who makes this much money and is 6 feet tall, and you were talking about online dating services too, where you have height, eye color, location that they live as being very kind of narrowing the field too much, where your man may be an inch too short and you'll never end up meeting him. But you talked about making your list, your build-a-boyfriend list, and that it helped you to actually go out and find that guy that you wanted.
It's not.
And so I want to hear what Shmuly thinks about that.
But can I just clarify what the build-a-boyfriend is? Because it's an important distinction, and you're absolutely right. Saying I need someone who is over 6 feet and makes over $100,000 a year and does this and that, that's not productive, and that's not what it is. It's actually programmed in the book that we walk women through it. It's more spiritual and it's more on the inside. It's how do I want my man to love me? How do I want him to show his affection? How do I want to show my affection for him? It goes both ways. It's not just about physical or monetary characteristics of a man. It's really a deeper way of expressing what
so
you
you're making
want.
a deeper list of things that you want, which is what it sounded like when I wasn't trying to characterize it as like a Match.com salary list. Shmuly, what do you think about that? About making a list of those deep qualities that you want in a person, and then going out and finding it?
I feel strongly both ways. I'm opposed to the lists and the build-a-boyfriend thing, which I really shouldn't say because I haven't read exactly what Jody and Serena have said. But from what I understand of it, here's my opposition. First of all, because I just want to be difficult tonight. And like any man, right? Men are stubborn. There's two issues. The first is, I think if you have a list, then so many incredible opportunities for real love will pass you by because it doesn't fit your list. Second, and more importantly, I wrote a book called Why Can't I Fall in Love? And it was about the modern epidemic of lovelessness. People who date and their hearts are made of Teflon rather than Velcro. They just don't stick. And I asked, why is that? And I said the following, that love is a response to the world's most ancient human malady. What's the world's oldest illness? What is the greatest human deficiency? It's a loneliness. God creates Adam. The first thing Adam experiences as a human being is loneliness. And God saw that the loneliness was not good, and he created him a helpmate. God says loneliness is a bad thing. You're supposed to share your life with other people. We love friends. We love family. If you feel lonely, which is a good thing, to be lonely is to experience your humanity. It's to experience your inadequacy without others. Yes, I do believe that we shouldn't be desperate for people, and I agree that you need to live your life, leisure life, and not just wait for a man to come into it. But you cannot pretend that you're ever good enough on your own. We all need each other. So if you experience loneliness, then you're going to be open to love. But if you don't experience loneliness, it's like you experience hunger. I have dinner if I get hungry. If I don't get hungry, then it better be the best restaurant. And then I'll eat anyway because it's the best restaurant. I think a lot of women treat men like that. Well, if it make me an offer you can't refuse. I call it mafia love. So what I'm saying is this. Instead of making a list of what you're looking for, I believe in making a list of what you're missing. What is it that you're most missing in your life? What are those areas where you're weaker? What are those areas where you're more deficient? When you do that, you end up marrying or getting a man who is complementary rather than your double. Studies show that when most people make these lists, they end up making a list of themselves and the opposite sex. They're looking for a doppelganger. I love ice cream. I want someone who loves ice cream. I love romantic movies. I want a guy who...
That's just you, Shmuly.
That's true. Touche.
We have another question.
You two ladies are absolutely lovely. And I only got a chance to glance through the books. That's just a segue, Rabbi. You're lovely as well. Having said that, I believe one of you is a beauty queen and the other one is an actress. That's my understanding, okay? No. And my question...
Wait, what do you call this?
and my question, I guess, to you is, how does fitting in, being a beauty queen or entering a beauty pageant, I cannot think of another activity that would be a more blatant feed into male stereotypes, which do nothing but degrade us. So I guess my question is, with all due respect, okay, is how is a book written by two decidedly hot chicks themselves, with the title Hot Chicks, and hot is the term that men use for all of us, You know, the first question is she hot? So how does a book with that title advance the concept of feminism, which I think the rabbi's daughter put it best, okay, is that the emphasis should not be on shallow, you know, materialistic or physical characteristics, right? We're looking to advance ourselves to at least be the equivalent of men, or at least to reach whatever capacity we can, intellectually, professionally, and I think that's what Rabbi Shmueli was talking about when he first stood up. So how is a book titled Hotchicks, how is that going to advance the progress of what feminism should be, which should be advancing our inner selves as people?
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Now, first of all, I just want to clarify, I don't want to be punished for something that I did when I was 15, and
It's okay, I did it too.
I was a performer. I was a dancer, I was an actress, I was a singer, I was a performer, and it was something that I did when I was 15, and I'm not a beauty queen. To answer your other question, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, you know, some of you may not like our word, you may not like the words hot chick. And but we're talking about, we are talking about that inner beauty, and we are talking about that inner confidence and that inner passion and that inner just being genuine and not apologizing for who you are, and really going out into the world and believing that you deserve the best love and the best life, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think if you really read the book, you would see that the substance, you may not like the title, and that's completely fine. But if you read the book, I think you really would agree that the substance is very much the feminist substance. It is very much trying to tell young women that you are not just what you look like. It is not just about being superficial. It is what's on the inside. You should be smart. You should educate yourself. You should always look out for yourself. You should always believe that you deserve the best. It's completely a feminist book.
Yeah, and we also talk about, too, that it doesn't matter what you look like or what size you are. If you're Angelina Jolie or if you're some woman working on the farm in the middle of the country, we're all women, and we all have the exact same insecurities. We all feel nervous about that guy who never called, or feel scared about something that's going on in our relationship. It doesn't matter. None of that superficial stuff matters, and that's what our book is about. That we're all hot chicks here, and we all need to sort of unite.
I don't want to be a hot chick, okay? I want to be a successful professional in my own right. I don't want to be called a hot chick, nor do I want my very beautiful daughters to be called a hot chick. And I don't think we're just talking about the title. We're talking about the whole cosmo paradigm, which I think is what Rabbi Shmueli was getting to, which in fact is not advanced feminism. What it's done is it's fed into male stereotypes. The sexual revolution, again, all of it was our feeding into what we thought men wanted us to be like. And I think we've defeated ourselves tremendously. So.
You know, I'll get to the other question in just a second, though. I'm just reminded of a study I saw about speed dating, where they took a bunch of men, a bunch of women, and they do speed dating, where they all talk for 10 minutes, they move on to the next person. And before they did it, the men were all asked, what's the most important quality you're looking for in a woman? And the men all said personality, sense of humor. And way down on the list, they put looks, all right? So they all went through the process for an hour, speed dating with all of each other. At the end of it, the men were all asked which woman they wanted to have the date with, and they all picked the hot one, who was not intelligent and had no sense of humor. I mean, it was all set up that way. So, you know, we can all talk until we're blue in the face about women should be intelligent, have a great personality, and be knowledgeable and educated, and maybe it goes back to Shmueli, what you're saying about how do we deprogram men? Aren't men inherently visual? Aren't they always going to go for the hot one?
Okay, that is probably the most important question of the night, and it's why I wrote the Kosher Sutra. Because beauty actually is not what determines attraction. My point in the Kosher Sutra was to prove, incontrovertibly, that attraction is based on mental principles rather than the body. I'll prove it. I'll prove it with something in my pocket. Okay. Everyone looked at me. Okay. This is an iPhone. It's funny because I use a BlackBerry, but I have an iPhone because I want to have an iPhone. You know why I have an iPhone? I'll tell you why. Because Steve Jobs did something so uncanny in marketing this. He made it the most successful consumer product in the history of the world. You know what he did? He made sure you couldn't buy it. He did two things. First, he released no information about it before it came out. People were speculating for 2 years, and he wouldn't say a thing. Normally, we want to advertise an event, we want to advertise a book, we get as much information as possible. He did the exact opposite. He would not release an iota of information. Then, he wouldn't even let you buy it. Megan will remember, we were on the air during the summer when people were in that Apple store across Central Park at the studio. 3-4 hours. I saw them waiting in 100-degree heat, melting.
My boyfriend was one of them. Yeah. Super geek. So.
Now, how could people be so attracted to something they'd never seen? Answer, one of the qualities of attraction is unavailability, mysteriousness. It's the reason why I do believe that covering up is actually sexier. One of my daughter's dreams is to create a clothing line where modest is the new sexy. Let me prove it from going to the beach. Is there any place where you see better bodies than at the beach? Where women, we all speak about having a beach body and people getting ready for the summer and toning their bodies. And yet, what do men do at a beach? If the women are so hot and they're so attractive and the women and men can be nothing but visual, what do most men do at a beach? Answer, they either fall asleep or they throw a frisbee. And yet the same man is walking home at night who sees a woman leave her blinds open. And now he peers into her bedroom and she's wearing the same amount of clothing, but it's her undergarments, it's a bra and underwear. Does he immediately think, darn, anyone have a frisbee? That's not the first thing that goes through his mind. It's much more erotic to see a woman in those conditions, even if she's not necessarily as pretty or as shapely as the women on the beach. Now why? Answer, it's forbidden. He's seeing something he's not supposed to see. Of course men are visual, but the visual wears off very quickly. It's the erotic which is sustained. Much bigger than porn on the internet is the webcam girl. The webcam girl is the girl who goes to college and wants to pay her way through college, and she agrees with some company to simply put a camera in her bedroom. And she's there for how long of the day? Well, she sleeps there, but aside from that, an hour of the day. And these guys look at an empty screen. They look at an empty room in the hope that she might walk in for... And that's a lot more erotic, a lot more attractive than porn because it's so forbidden. You're seeing something you're not supposed to see. The whole wave of pornography now is amateur people, not professionals.
It's true.
The point is, it's not true that the body is so attractive. Let me finally prove it. If men are only visual, and attraction, therefore, and the man is always going to go out with the girl who's the prettiest, and that's the basis of a relationship, to be hot, then I ask you, why is the highest rate of divorce, specifically among the most attractive people? Does Kate Moss look to you like she can sustain a relationship? Do you know many people in Hollywood? The most beautiful men and women are all in Hollywood. And all we know is what train wrecks their lives are, especially their relationships. They cannot sustain a relationship. Clearly, attraction. Billy Joel was married to one of the most beautiful women of the 20th century. Her name is Christy Brinkley. They divorced because allegedly he cheated on anything with a pulse. She then married another guy, and she still looks amazing. She married this guy in the Hamptons. He cheated with things that didn't have a pulse. So clearly they were looking for something, and objectively they were cheating with women who were not as pretty as their wife.
That proves our point. It has absolutely nothing to do with what you look like, and whether you call it a hot chick, or you call it a lady, or you call her a successful woman. We're just talking about an inner confidence.
Let me get a couple more questions. Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, you said doing all these bold things and having a great sense of confidence, inner confidence, and then making this list and building a boyfriend, and then somehow going out and getting what you want. I'm very confident. I do many bold things. I don't know that I would be comfortable in going out and getting. And where would I go? And
the synagogue.
I go these the internet. I don't know. That's not how I want to meet somebody. And I also don't want to meet a person who's going out and getting. I want to not be aware and
So
somehow.
where should she go?
Well, that's fine. And again, it's all about knowing what you want. And if you know that you're the type of woman woman that doesn't want to be the one who's being proactive and wants
But
to
how
be the recipient.
would a woman go out and get? I mean, like what?
Well, go out and get, I mean, literally, we're not saying, like, go to the store and get yourself a, you know, a
Well,
man.
that would be an option. I like that.
That's not what we're saying. We're saying, don't be afraid when you see something you like. If you are in the supermarket and you know, see a guy sniffing a melon, you know, go strike up a conversation.
Why is
I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea.
Why is that so, makes you roll your eyes?
I started conversations with people all the time.
Okay.
I have a very easy time talking
Okay.
to people, and
And then?
there it goes, nothing.
Well, now you have to ask them for, do you want to have coffee? Do you want to have lunch?
Oh God.
Well, let me tell you something, because I had a wonderful relationship that lasted for 3 years with a man that I asked out. And it was the only time in my life I ever did it, because as confident as I appear,
Yeah.
I also felt, as you did,
Okay.
and also because the rules in our culture are men are supposed to ask women out, I thought, well, if he doesn't, he must not be interested, right? But not true.
Right, men fear rejection. No, here's where.
Let me just finish real quick. So there he was in the elevator, there I was in the elevator, because we work in the same building.
Right.
And I thought it's now or if it never. Hi, do you want to have lunch sometime? Sure. Okay, but if he had said no, I would have said, okay, I got over the initial hurdle of doing it. You have to just do it.
Right.
And I think as with men, and they feel uncomfortable doing it too, you have to get into practice and you might get rejected, but you keep practicing.
Exactly, and then when, you know, if he does say no, then good, then now you're not wasting any more energy on this person that's not right for you. You know, and if you really do though sit down and make a list of not superficial things, but of what you really want in a relationship and what kind of love would be
Well, no, it's a very clear list. I've been divorced, so the list is crystal
Got
clear.
it. Well, just know that you deserve it then.
See, by the way, here's where I absolutely agree with Jody and Serena. We don't disagree about everything.
Yeah.
We disagree about some fundamental things, fair enough, because as I said before the speech, Jody is a free country, they have a right to be wrong. But here Jody and Serena are absolutely right. You have to be more confident in yourself and in your belief that you have a gift to give to a man and to others,
Right.
which no one else has, which is invaluable, which is infinitely valuable. And I think that we live in a culture of sameness. And we live in a culture that tries us to erase our distinctiveness, and also we live in a culture that tries to make us feel inadequate. The problem with capitalism, I mean, we humanity, we're really messed up, and we know this because of our economy. On the one hand, capitalism is the greatest engine for economic prosperity the world has ever seen. Communism has been tried and failed. Socialism cannot succeed the way capitalism can. But the essence of capitalism is it has to lead to greed. Think about it. Capitalism is always about feeling, I'm not good enough, so I need an expensive car. I'm not good enough, so I need these cosmetics to make me look younger. But if the essence is, I need to work to earn these things to feel like I'm successful, then it must lead to voraciousness and rapaciousness, because that beast can never be satisfied. And we've never figured out the way around this. It's the reason why great societies always crumble. My solution would be spiritual capitalism. Capitalism that is balanced by a spiritual message of the infinite soul within us. But I completely agree with Serena and Jody that you should embrace that philosophy, that I wouldn't necessarily call it a hot chick, you know, but that you are a very special woman and that you have a lot to offer, and that should give you a certain confidence. And you should absolutely be able to ask a nice guy out. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
But I understand one thing is one thing we advocate really is being true to yourself. And if you know that you want a man who's going to make the first move and ask you out, then be true to that. Don't ask a guy out. Because if you do it, if you change who you are in order to get a man, no matter what that is, it's not going to work. So whether it's being more demure in order to have a man come after you or being more proactive, either way, if it's not your true self, it's not going to work. So be your best true self. You know, be out there, be available, be approachable, but don't make the first move, because if you do, and that's really deep down not what you want, you'll be with a guy and you'll always say,
for it.
oh, that's the guy I had to ask out. And
Ken, what does that mean, be approachable? Because I don't know whether I'm wearing, like, I
think that's a very...
Well, this is a larger question
Very
than
good
just,
question.
this is a larger question than just about dating. The fact is, I'm writing a book now, and where is Ahuva? Oh, okay. I'm writing a book now. I hope I'll get a publisher for it. I hope it's going to be my next book, called 10 Conversations You Need to Have with Yourself. And one of them is this conversation we have to have, not about approachability necessarily, but as we go through life, I think we become more cynical. And we allow things to hurt us, and we go into our shell a bit more. Approachability means that you're just as vibrant, you're just as radiant, that you don't allow the fact that you went through the rinse cycle, like a divorce, to make your heart shrivel. And now you just appear a bit more secluded, a bit less trusting, because men are just as concerned in this day and age, with the rare exception of these real bad boys, and that's why women love bad boys, because they're so confident. That's the secret of this bad boy complex. But the vast majority of men are also afraid of rejection, and they've also been through a lot of pain in relationships. The defining characteristic of relationships today is that they're broken. The vast majority do not work. And we only look at 50% divorce rate. What about all the things until you got married? So your heart becomes like a plate which has been broken so many times, and you glue it back together, and all the little cracks are still showing. So if in addition to that shyness, it also appears as though you may say no, then people are not going to make the effort. That's the main reason why I'm in favor of women asking guys out, because I think today men are as concerned about being rejected as women are. But by the way, I think this is a better solution. This is why I believe in matchmaking. I actually believe that the religious Jewish world has a lot to teach the secular world about dating. And the thing about a matchmaker is, if the whole thing is just that, like imagine that, Lisa, had you not said at that moment, come out, it's now or never, and it was true, it was now or never. But wouldn't it have been easier had you gotten a friend who got to know this guy and you said, hey, find out if he's interested or not. Then you're not put into that crazy situation. And hopefully the friend is tactful and doesn't compromise you, doesn't say things like, hey, you want to go out with Lisa or not? You know, it says something like, so Lisa has a stamp collection. Boring, no. I believe in matchmaking. And you know, and I'm not talking about official matchmakers, because they usually don't work. It's a business. I'm talking about friends. I believe that every person should appoint themselves a matchmaker. If all of you believe in giving charity, and we all believe, hopefully, in giving tzedakah, well, the greatest charity you can do to someone is end their loneliness. So you should always be thinking about people you can set up. Don't make it into a calling. I'm sorry, don't make it into a career, because that's where you become one of these yentas. But it's a calling. You know two people, do them the favor of introducing them. My wife, we've introduced probably 17, 20 people who got married. I think 16 have gotten divorced. You don't have a great track record. No, a lot have gotten divorced.
We have a question over here.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say I think all of you guys are great. And I'm just talking on my behalf. First of all, I'm a matchmaker. I feel like I've always tried to set up all my friends. And no, I have.
Have you set up yourself?
I haven't. I'm single, and I'm in the single scene and everything. And I want to say, I hear what these women are saying. If I would just, when I walked in and I saw you two, I would be like, wow, they're really gorgeous women. Of course, they're like, you know, the whole hot chick. But, if you hear them talk, there is an inner confidence that they have, which I really think that that's what they're trying. I think it's like the inner confidence that they're trying to portray, that they're saying that women should have, is a must. And you know what? I think women must look their very best. They must try to take care of themselves, because that's going to give them the confidence. And as much as, and I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, Rabbi Shmuley, men do look at looks, and it's something that's, you know, that's irreversible. They do. That's what they first get attracted to, and it's the first thing that sticks. Yes, you're right. Once the woman opens her mouth, and if they feel like she's not all there, yeah, a lot of that goes away. And you're right about that. But I'm telling you, I mean, I'm a businesswoman, and up until I would say about 2 years ago, I never really put on makeup. I never really took care of myself, because I was all about business, making money, and I was at the peak of the peak in my career. But I was not a happy person in my social life. But it was only until, and I think I really started, and I didn't read your book, but from what I'm getting is, a woman has to take care of herself, and she has to look the very best. And if she feels like maybe, I'm not talking about getting implants, but if she feels like doing something to help her inner confidence to look better, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because at the end of the day, yes, you must be as confident as you can in order to go out into the society that we're in. And as much as you're going to say that it's about the inner, I have gorgeous friends, and I've set up friends, and I'll tell you, I have never met a guy that's like been like, I'll take you. I'm not talking about like the one that's the least attractive, because he's so into the mind. The first thing they notice is the looks, and I think a woman has to look her best. And at the end of the day, you're talking about all the divorce. Forget divorce. Why are these men marrying these women anyway? Initially they're marrying these hot women. And they are marrying these very attractive women. And how come the women that's not so attractive is left behind?
Okay, let me just tell you, I feel very strongly about the question. And I'm going to demonstrate how strongly I feel about it, I'm going to tell you that I feel what you're saying. What's your name, please?
Desiree.
Hello, Desiree. It's a beautiful name. I think what you're saying is dangerous. It's very dangerous. And it's what's leading to the wholesale destruction of feminine self-confidence and a woman's happiness in our time. Because you see, on the one hand, you started by saying that I'm beginning to sort of get Serena and Jody, and their message is important. I agree. But this is not the message they're portraying. See, what Jody and what Serena did is they took what they really believe, all the beautiful characteristics that they voiced today of a woman of integrity and a woman of wisdom, and what they did is they conformed. They sold out for the stereotype of the hot chick, which, and if you look at the cover of their book, you'll know exactly what they mean by that.
No.
There's a picture of a woman.
No.
One second. I will absolutely give you every opportunity to respond. It's a picture of a woman in a negligee with long legs and a very busty woman. And it's clear that that's the hot chick. The hot chick is a woman who is more packaging. She's more cover than book. She also has a bit of book, but she's covering. But it's the cover that's very important. And I said before, I don't even think that Serena and Jody believe this. It's not the life that they lead. But they do this because it's what the culture expects. And they conform to that culture. And now, along you come and you say, you know, I tried to live it differently. By the way, you overdid it. Life isn't just about money and career, obviously. But now you're saying, you know what? And I discovered I didn't get the attention that I really thought I should, being a woman of substance. And now I'm going to sell out too. I now really think it is about looks, etc., etc. Hold on. Let me just finish my point. And now, wait 1 second. And now let me prove to you that it's simply not true.
What is the name
You know what? 1 second. I'm almost done. Wait, you asked the question. And you have to wait. You asked. Desiree. You
I
asked the
think the
question.
name of your book is so
You asked the
appropriate in
question.
this way
You must
also.
allow me to respond. And you could ask again. I'm almost done. I had the pleasure with my dear friend Cory Booker, the mayor of Newark, of meeting Barbara Streisand for like 5 hours, right? And what I took away from that meeting was here was a woman who by any objective standard was not one of the most beautiful women of the 20th century. They always spoke about her big nose, and she wasn't Brigitte Bardot. But you won't hear anything about Brigitte Bardot anymore. But Barbara Streisand maintained a longevity in the culture as a superstar beyond any of her peers. The same was true of people like Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts hasn't done a movie in like 7 years. She has a movie coming out now. She was never the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, gorgeous supermodel, and yet her longevity, she's been out.
She's pretty gorgeous.
The point is, her beauty is all about a beauty which is fused with an electric personality. What I'm saying is this. Of course, beauty and attractiveness are very important. But what we need to do is expand the definition of beauty to include all those aspects which today are being ignored.
No, but that's what Desiree is saying, okay. if I may say something, right? Aren't you saying, or correct me if I'm wrong, but one supports the other. So you were living this life where you were being this confident, powerful, successful person, but you weren't feeling,
Sexy?
yeah.
Desiree respond.
So can I say something? What is the name of your book again?
Kosher Sutra.
Kosher Sutra. Kosher Sutra.
Yes.
The name Sutra. I mean, I open your book and I'm not trying to be, I'm not picking, I'm here with my friend. I'm not going to,
As long as you're talking about my book, it's all good.
I want you to know, I flipped through, I opened up the middle and I read pornography. And then I read a little bit more kosher sex. But I'm just saying, like, I don't think that because their cover has a pretty, you know, it's about this, doesn't really determine what their book is about. I haven't read the book. I haven't read your book. I'm just saying it does work hand in hand. And you have to understand, you're one man, and I'm extremely happy that you really feel the feminists and you're all about like women and the same rights. I love that. That's wonderful. If you had a son, I would want to be introduced to him. But, you know, you said you have 6 girls, but at the same time, there aren't too many other people out there like yourself, and I know
My mother says that all the time.
Well, no, it's true, because I'm out there in this scene. I'm very, very social. I have a lot of male friends, and not most of them think like
So
you.
you're proving my point, Desiree. Men are like this, and instead of changing the men, you change yourself to conform to them. That's all I said.
I need to say something.
Okay, that's what Jody does.
You keep saying that, we should change the men instead of changing the women, but your book is about changing women, and you're here tonight talking about changing women. So write a book about and to say that we sold out because we have a pretty girl.
Go ahead.
I want to say something. You have 6 daughters, right?
Thank God, yes.
You do, Lionheart. You have 6 daughters.
And 3 sons.
Okay, hold on, wait.
And one of them is 3.
Do any of
He has
them?
gorgeous long hair, but we just cut it.
Okay, Rabbi.
Yes.
They're beautiful? Are your daughters beautiful?
You see,
They are, right?
I can't answer a question like that. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. To their
Okay,
father,
let me
yes,
see.
they're beautiful.
Do they wear makeup? Do they wear makeup?
I try to discourage them from
You try to discourage. Do they wear
On
makeup?
Shabbos, they
Do
wear
you-
makeup
do you-
during the week, not a lot.
Do they ever maybe blow dry their hair
Of
out
course.
for Shabbos? Yeah.
Of course.
Do they ever, when they go out, try to, say, Mom, let's go find a nice dress
I
because I
hope
want to
they do,
look good?
absolutely.
So, Rabbi, I think what these women are trying to say is, at the end of the day, and this is what I learned is, and I'm sorry, but you cannot just tell someone, you need to, your inner beauty, and take that inner beauty and take that and go with it, because that's
I
going
said
to be
it's both.
what
It's balance, Desiree.
So
We're
that's
out of
what
balance
I'm saying.
there.
There is a balance. You must,
Right, balance.
in order to have confidence, you must, and I believe this, we're in the year 2009, you must look your very best, and I will state this, you must feel, the way you're going to feel your very best is if you look your very best. I'm not saying go get plastic surgery and do this. I wish all men were like you, but they're not.
Okay, let me just say, I'm not so confident. Do you see this? Do you see this? I want you to look at me for a second. See this? This beard, scissors. Desiree, wait. Desiree. Forgive me. Let me just. I have 30 seconds.
Well, you got 30 seconds. Wait, let him go. He's got 30 seconds.
I have been told on countless occasions that I will not succeed on television unless I trim my beard and I look more kempt. But I am who I am. And I actually believe that the world rewards talent. And if I'm good enough, I'll succeed. And if I'm not good enough, wait, I will fail. Hold on. Meryl Streep is doing movie after movie after movie because she's so good they have to cast her.
Okay, Shmuley, we need to let other people talk.
What Desiree has found.
And teach them how to be, maybe to think more like you. But you can have some women here say, forget all of what they're saying, forget it. Just be yourself and then you're going to get the very best. You have women here that are like, what should I do? What should I do? I've tried everything. Instead of telling them, listen, yes, you have to have confidence, of course, but yeah, you know what? Not all men think like you. I really want you to understand.
I think what Desiree has found is that by enhancing her own natural beauty and by putting a little bit of effort into it, it has amplified her confidence and it has let her inner beauty shine through. And that is true. And that is exactly why Shmuley says we sold out by picking that beautiful girl for the cover of our book. And I think that is completely false. We picked that girl for the cover of our book. We've been criticized because she has cellulite. If you look closely, she has cellulite all over her thigh and her butt. And we were criticized.
Well, they took
for
some of it
that.
out, I think, but yeah.
And we fought for them not to take it out. The reason we picked her is because she is doing exactly what you've learned to do, Desiree. She is putting on perfume and amplifying her natural beauty and feeling so confident. You look at that girl and you see her doing that, and she is loving herself, and she is taking the time to love herself and treat herself well. And that's what you've learned to do, and we applaud that.
You're kidding.
Okay,
You
wait.
really believe that's the message?
I'm a moderator. Okay, I want to let some people who haven't spoken speak. So, gentlemen in the back row.
I'm going to take this sort of off in a different direction. The psychology and the sociology is really fascinating, but doesn't it really come down to the anthropology and the biology? And people are attracted to things that they think are going to help them reproduce and be successful and be safe.
Right. So that's why men like younger women. Is that the argument? Because they can biologically they can reproduce.
What's considered attractive basically can be reduced to what enhances the ability to reproduce. I mean, it sort of gets off the track, but that's essentially what it's all about.
There's also a comment with her.
I just want to say, before I met my husband, I was out in dozens of single scenes and everywhere. You know, everybody has to look presentable, men and women. You can't go out there and not shower and look like a disaster. But, you know, every single scene is, you know, girls putting everything out there. Like, the sluttiest girls get the most attention, get the most guys around them, and it's exactly what the rabbi is talking about. It's complete You know, it's like something happened, and you know, this is what men look for in these single scenes, to like get drunk and to look for these women who dress a certain way.
But it doesn't get them married.
At a small engagement party, I did ask him out. He approached me.
Because it's getting late, who has not spoken and would like to make comments?
It shouldn't be about outer beauty. It should be about the inner beauty. And one of the things that I learned, Shmuley Buteak says that it should be about the inner beauty. Also, Esther Young Grace also professes that. She says the reason why we have so many single people on the scene is because the man is looking for the movie star and the woman is looking for what is money, what is this, what is that. They're not looking at what is the inside, and that is why we are all still single. If you're looking at what's outside, people age, people get old, people turn, you know, wrinkles and this and that, and as many Botox as you use and as many things as you use, you're still going to turn old and you're still going to be old, and it doesn't matter. So it shouldn't be about what is a look. It should be about what you are and who you are and how you stand as a person.
You're here. You're here.
I just want to take it in kind of the same direction. It's, what's your name again?
Desiree.
Desiree is my girl.
I forgot
She gets it. I'm going to stand up for a second. I am unemployed. I have no job. I'm actually on unemployment. I used to be Shmuley's producer. Shmuley, you know that we had fun working together. It was your fault. No. Shmuley knows my talents and my abilities and everything. I actually had a job interview today. I spent yesterday, I got my nails done, got my eyebrows done, went and got a couple new clothes, just things to wear. And I was actually knew I was interviewing with a woman. But when I walked in, you know, I felt like I looked my best. And so I agree with what you're saying, what these girls are saying. It's about, of course, I could have schlepped in there in flip-flops and like sweatpants. I'm still Megan, still the same ability, still the same producer, someone who needs a job. But I show up today looking good, and it's a better me. What's wrong with that? And I think that's what they're trying to say, and what's Desiree trying to say.
Can I get that point, even though I don't have a book here, but you know, I sort of beg to differ. I think we've all bought into this I feel better when I get my eyebrows waxed thing. I mean, you know, a generation ago, women didn't have to get eyebrows waxed, bikinis waxed. And there used to be only ladies who lunched got manicures, and they were sort of looked down upon by women who actually did things during the day and wouldn't possibly have time for manicures. And I think our beauty standards have changed to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous. Where now, I mean, I'm on television, so I really feel like I have to live up to it. But you know, the highlights and the blow drying and the makeup, and in my case, lashes and the manicures, and I don't even do half the things that a lot of women on TV do. I mean, we are raising a generation where 3-year-olds get highlights, and 7-year-olds get manicures, and 19-year-olds get Botox. Literally.
Right. Well, there's a balance.
I mean, it's insane. And we shouldn't have to feel confident. We shouldn't have to do any of that crap.
Well, you know, I did my nails myself and stuff.
I'm just railing against the whole concept, because I would frankly rather be the hippie girl in the
If you
jeans.
went on television and you didn't feel good about how you looked, would you be as great?
I felt
And
so
when
good
you're
about
not on
when I felt so good about how I looked before I became a TV person.
When you're not on television, you don't put any makeup, you don't get your eyebrows done, nothing. You're all natural.
I have to keep the eyebrows.
No, I mean every woman has to do it. They have to be presentable.
Let me tell you a parable about men, for all of you who think men just care about confidence and sense of humor and all that. In the morning at 7 a.m. when I'm on the subway and my hair is frizzy and wet and I have no makeup on, there's not a single man who pays attention to me. After an hour of hair and makeup every day, I walk out, every single guy in the street smiles at me, hits on me, wants my number. It's bullshit. I'm in a temper. Okay, but I mean, you can't tell me that men don't respond to all this craziness. That's why women do it. We want
I don't understand. Wait. I don't understand this conversation. Now, look, before I came, I did my eyebrows. No, let me correct that. I did my eyebrow. I only have one. Look, I don't get this. You know, Robert Browning said this: just because you can't touch the stars doesn't mean you shouldn't reach for them. All of society is about inspiration, ideology. It's about believing that there's something higher. All we're hearing tonight from the people who should be the most ideological, the women. You know, the guys are the ones who are always accused of being too practical, too business-like. Like you said before, men attracted to women for the most practical end of all, to have a child, right? Not for her personality, just for her fallopian tubes. And it's the women who are supposed to reach for something higher. And that's my whole complaint. My complaint is that the women now have become complicit in their own degradation. Why? Because they don't even think that they can tell men that they should aspire to anything higher. They're saying men are like this, so we're going to have to capitulate to it. But here's my argument, and I said this at the beginning. You're never going to be happy doing it. The fact is that Lisa Bloom is beautiful and brilliant, and that's a rare combination. I've said many times, I'll say it again. Lisa Bloom is probably the smartest woman on American television. I watch her forget her on her own show, where she's a host. She's much even better as a guest. She literally takes up a knife and slices her debate opponents. It's embarrassing to see anyone try to go up against her. But given those two things, I would venture to say, I would even guess, Lisa, that if I had to ask you what would you rather be appreciated for, your formidable intelligence or nails and the hair, I bet it's that formidable intelligence. Absolutely. And I bet you sometimes decry the fact that, who's the host of ABC News? Charlie Gibson could be, whatever he is, 65, and wear glasses down here, and still be one of the highest rated hosts in the country, but you know that a woman couldn't do that. That's the double standard. And instead of us trying to change it, I thought that feminism was about trying to change it. I guess what I'm hearing tonight is, forget it. It's never going to change. Men are like this. You're not going to get a job unless you look like this, and let's accept it. So at least admit. I'm prepared, wait, I'm almost done. I'm prepared to accept that, Megan, and Desiree, and Jody and Serena. I'm prepared to accept all of that. That I'm wrong, and you guys are right, with one caveat. You must at least tell me tonight what I say in my book, Hating Women. You must at least agree that feminism is dead. At least, as long as you say that it's completely dead, and it was a false dream. That it was a ridiculous, it was a ridiculous dream, because men and the world will never change. I will get up right now in front of these cameras, because this is going to be put up on my website, and forever say that I lost this debate tonight, that I am defeated. So long as you say, Shmuley, things will never change, and feminism is dead. There's my challenge.
That's because we're talking about it, we're decrying it, and we've made huge strides in education, employment. You know, women outscore men at every level of grade school, middle school, high school.
And they're still judged by their looks.
But I think in one area, in the area of gender roles, we have not made as much progress as we should have.
No, that's very true. I mean, that's a commercial.
Of course.
I remember in the 70s, we've come a long way, maybe, but you didn't have to suck out far enough. Affirmative action officers are only paid 2/3 of quarters of what their male counterparts are. There's 60 to 65,000 of the other male counterparts, 80 and so much for affirmative action. And if we don't have feminism, we cannot afford all these sexy looking clothes. I mean, so we've got, and any guy in town who believes there isn't a feminist, I'll hand him a bunch of bills and he won't use these feminists.
Woo. Okay, how about, should we do a closing, I'm sorry.
No, it was me. So I have very many single friends, and you talk a lot about sexuality. You talk a lot about men wanting what's forbidden. We're talking about feminism. We're talking about relating that back to beauty and how we should try to be so beautiful. So what's the message for women today, then? Women that are seriously, because we can all go back and forth about different ideas and notions that we have about beauty and how we should, reflect on the inner or the outer. I agree with half of what you're saying, and I agree with half of what No, really, but the thing is, so what's the answer in an environment where women are pushed I don't get home sometimes till like 10 p.m. And, if I had to think about how to act forbidden so that, really, that's it. If I had to think about, how do I make myself forbidden, and I'm married and I have a little girl that's 2.5, and I'm actually glad sometimes for that, because I think about some of the feats that my friends have to go through and some of the difficulties, and it's hard. It's hard to be out there, to be a working woman, to do all of these things. And at the end of the day, I think, and I dare say this, sometimes women even sell themselves short a little bit by making themselves beautiful as a quick fix, because you know what? I need to do this because this is what I'm supposed to, where is their time? Where do you fit this element of, I think back to stories that my mother used to tell me about being courted and how the man would come out. It doesn't exist because there's no time. Where is the time?
That's a really good question. I think this is a good leading to a closing, and that is my big question, and I think our big disagreement with Shmuley. We're being criticized tonight for using the term hot chick, because nowhere, if you open our book, there is not one word or sentence in there about makeup, eyebrows, manicures, certainly not plastic surgery. We're not in any way, shape, or form telling women to change the exterior or change the interior. We're really telling women to be more confident in what they already have. And so how is, telling a woman to be more demure, to be more forbidden, to find the time to be more mysterious for their man, how is that feminist? How is that moving things forward?
Well, that's kind of, because I agree with a lot of what Shmuli's saying too, because and I want to say this cautiously, I think that we have gone back a little bit. I mean, we've definitely taken 3 steps back instead of, in my view, instead of 2 steps forward. And I agree with the ideas that you're talking about, and this night is way too short to even have this conversation at length, but I was looking for an answer for what's your recommendation? What's your view when you talk about being more? And I'm just generalizing it and giving the example. You give the example of the iPhone and it being wanted by being forbidden. So how do we address that?
First of all, I also agree with much of what Shmuley said this evening. In fact, I agree with everything he said.
Should women make themselves like iPhones?
No, I don't believe in artificially doing anything. I'm a great believer in that the natural is beautiful. We're a hiking family. I don't go to shopping malls. I think that anything that man makes, God makes more beautiful. I love nature. I actually think it's unnatural for women to put themselves out in the way they do. I think they're doing it to get attention because they feel they have to. We've heard that come up several times tonight. In other words, when the book The Rules came out a few years ago, I debated the rules, girls, several times. Twice. We had debates of 1,000 people. And the book was very big at the time, and I said that this can't work because it's all contrived. It's all manipulative. Love is something real. Love is as authentic and as naked as it gets. It can't work with something manipulative. What I'm saying is be yourself. It is natural for a woman to only share her body with a man who's earned her. So don't have a one-night stand with a guy who hasn't earned you. That's preposterous. It's not making yourself forbidden. On the contrary, it's making yourself do something that you don't feel comfortable with. Don't show who walks around naked. It's unnatural. There's a natural human desire for dignity and the dignity of the body. So don't expose that nakedness, the preciousness, the treasure of your body to people who haven't earned it. This isn't about doing something artificial. It's about being yourself. I tell wives the same thing. Why should we believe that marriage is the unnatural state of being completely exposed to each other, which again is unnatural, which leads to the demagnetism of the body? If you're a wife and you're walking around the bedroom naked, why should your husband have to earn the sight of your body? You think that marriage is about sex on tap? Marriage isn't legalized prostitution. Do you know that in the Jewish religion?
That's playing.
One second. Do you know that in the Jewish religion you cannot make love to your wife? Unless you've seduced her and wooed her, she has no obligation to have sex with you. You can't make love to your wife if you think about another woman. God says he scrutinizes even your thoughts. 80% of men admit to thinking about other women while making love to their wives. Here you are in the closest physical proximity to the woman who's bone of your bone, flesh of your flesh, and in your mind, you're doing a guest appearance on America's Next Top Model. It's not supposed to be that way. I'm saying be yourself. Be yourself. You make love to a man who's seduced you, who's wooed you, who's called you during the day and romanced you, not the guy who watched you do the dishes and had his feet up on the couch, and then suddenly it's time for sex and he says, roll over. That's not love. That's contrived. I think women are behaving very unnaturally today, and that's why they need so much alcohol. That explains why women are getting sloshed on things like spring break, because they can only do these things when they're not thinking anymore. By the way, let me just conclude. And let me just conclude by saying, I want to thank Jody and Serena very much. We met on the Today Show twice. They're very fine women. I hope that they and their book, even the cover on their book, succeeds wildly. And I hope that this has been a very important conversation. And there's truth to both sides. There's more truth on mine. But I think this is a very important conversation that should be continued.
Okay, finally, I just want to respond to what Shmuly just said, and then I'll let you wrap up, Serena. But I just want to respond that I just don't understand how in one breath a rabbi can say that anything man has made, God has made more beautiful, and then followed up by saying that being naked in your God-made body is not natural. That is despicable to me. I just think that that's the most beautiful natural thing on the planet is a naked body, and for a man of God to sit here and say that it's not natural, I just don't understand.
Then why are you wearing clothes now?
You're talking about in front of your spouse.
No, but if it's natural, why are you wearing it now? Why are you wearing it now?
Okay, let's not say Serena, what's your final thought?
Well, my final thought is to comment on what you were saying. How do you, the whole forbidden thing. I don't agree with. We don't agree with Shmuley. Like, you can be mysterious and you can sort of play that game without playing that game. It's all about, really, honestly, our whole message is living like a hot chick. It's being that confident woman and being confident in your relationship and saying what you need in your relationship. Sitting your husband down or your boyfriend down and saying, this is, I want to be wooed, or acting that way towards him, wooing him and sending sweet emails or phone calls or anything like that to sort of create that mystery between you. Anyway, that wasn't a very good wrap up.
Anyway, but I just think it's really interesting. We don't disagree completely. We have very similar ideas to Shmuley. We both want women and men to find love and to be happy, and we're sort of looking at the same thing from different sides, but we really do all want the same thing. So
I want to thank Serena and Jody for being on the series today. And the book is available. I want to thank my wife, Shmuley. Thank you, everyone, for your terrific comments.
Thank you. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. How are you?